Welcome to the Haven Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders, owners, and professionals are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Hear from industry experts on everything from marketing, leadership, financing, and more. Brought to you by Haven, a co-working space where you can connect, create, and get stuff done.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Haven Hubcast. I am your host, Nancy Sheed, and I cannot wait to get started in talking to our today's guest, Hayley Segar. Welcome, Hayley. I'm going to tell people more about you, but thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Nancy. I'm excited.
Hayley is the founder of onewith, an innovative, patent-pending women's swimwear startup with suits that are designed to fit and feel like seamless undergarments. Hayley, I wish we had visuals. Like, this is where a podcast is not going to do our conversation justice, but you are literally smack in the middle of an amazing entrepreneurship journey with your new company. But before we dive in and learn more about it, did you know you always wanted to launch a swimwear line? Share with our listeners a little bit about your journey to get here.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, I didn't know I wanted to launch a swimwear line in particular. I have loved fashion since I was a little kid, like a very, very young child. It's been such a big part of me as a person and just my sensibilities and my interests. So the fact that I have a fashion startup is not a surprise to me. If you asked me what I wanted to do when I was a kid, I'd always say a news anchor or a fashion designer. So it's not that far off, but right. The swimwear thing, if you had told me that even 4 years ago, I'd probably be like, really? Why? But then, because I've always hated swimwear, that's why I would be surprised. And, I hadn't had the idea 4 years ago, for going back to that time. It was actually about 3 years ago that I thought of the concept. But yeah, no, in terms of an actual swimwear line, never thought that was in the cards, but fashion for sure. For sure.
But you did not choose to do the go work in fashion, right? Like you didn't make the choice to go and, as I say, back in our day, you would have gone and worked somewhere in fashion, whether it was in the retail or the marketing or the design side. And it sounds like you skipped that step, or you have done fashion a different way.
No, I didn't skip that step. I actually worked very, very much into fashion for 7 years. Since I was 16, I've been in bridal fashion. And I worked for designers, and I worked in the retail sector, selling wedding gowns as well. That was where I spent the bulk of my time. And then I also had really briefly, but I did have a job in direct to consumer fashion as well. So I have been in fashion since I could work. And that's been an invaluable experience. I highly recommend, if anybody is listening to this, that is fresh out of college and has an idea for something, I really do recommend working in that general field, even alongside building what you're doing, because you can learn lessons so much more quickly when you have that previous exposure and watching bosses and coworkers and what they go through, mistakes they make, wins that they have, and really being able to apply that to your own business. And of course, you're always going to still be learning things, but I did work in fashion, again, specifically bridal fashion, for a really long time. And that gave me a really good lens for problem solving and also working on a product as intimate as something like bridal or swimwear.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So I was going to say, what were some of your biggest takeaways that brought you to this space? So it sounds like you got the bonuses. What were some of the lessons, without throwing anybody under the bus, that what were some of the lessons or mistakes that you got, you were witness to, or that you learned from before you had to go out on your own? Like, okay, I now know I will never do that, or I now know I will do that differently.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm trying to think of one in particular. I definitely saw a lot of, I'll go on a positive sort of
yeah, this is my weakness, but this was a weakness, but this is how I turned it into a positive, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think of, I saw a lot of strategies that I liked and infrastructures that I liked. And also just I learned a lot, just me as a person, things that worked when working with women, things that didn't work when working with women, things verbally that women responded to, things they didn't respond to at all. And again, I'd watch bosses, I'd watch coworkers like kind of go through the same motions. And again, like I got to see photo shoots in action. I got to see, some sort of like back end accounting stuff and just managing a day-to-day business and just customer service. And that is so invaluable. And that's why it's awesome. Like I've done a lot of stuff with UConn. I'm an alum. I'm wearing you can't see.
I know people can't see.
I'm an alum. I'm wearing my vintage UConn sweatshirt right here. But, it's awesome when I see people and students, form a startup during college and go right into working that startup. But I know that that's their path. But I know that they probably would be better for having the experience of working for somebody else. That's a hot take maybe, but I really, really will go home. Like I'll drive that home.
And I want to value that you just said, or that you said you learned, there was some external and internal learning, right? Like there was the how to run a business, how to work with people, but there was also a lot of insight about how you operate and how you work that you were able to bring into that startup that maybe that experience wouldn't have had.
Exactly.
My other question, sort of for that time period, the world has changed. And this is even before COVID. And I know your business vision was before COVID, but the world has changed. How clothing is made, what's important about a clothing brand or fashion has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you had that experience, but you also had to bring your kind of real world in real time knowledge to your business. So what did that look like as you were forming? I don't know. Was it your business plan? Was it a pitch deck? How did you suddenly start taking actually, let's go back for a second. You had the idea.
Yes.
The idea goes from, do you just ask a few people? Do you start mapping it out? What does it look like from idea to then sort of putting a business plan together?
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought of the idea in April of 2019. So it's coming up on 3 years ago. And it was tough because I always say this, I knew enough to know that I didn't know. I knew enough about fashion. I knew enough about e-com. I knew enough about all these things to know that it would have been really naive and really kind of negligent of me to think like, I'm just going to sketch some things out and just send them to people and have them make them. It's just not like that. And I knew that. And I didn't know exactly how difficult it would be, but thank goodness for that in some ways. But I took a full year between thinking of the idea, having the light bulb moment. I'm in my condo right now. I was in my condo when I had this light bulb moment, standing like, 20 feet away. And my body like physically froze. And I always say this, but I would love, if there's one thing I wish I had on camera, it was the moment that I thought of onewith, because it was so visceral that I just wish I could replay it. But anyways, I had that moment, where I literally said out loud, I just want something, meaning a swimsuit, that fits as well as my seamless underwear does. And like a wash just came over me. So from that moment to like hiring my technical designer and really like putting my plan into action as to how it was physically going to come to life, that took about a year for me to really just noodle. I was debating on, do I go back to school? Do I go back to FIT? Or not back to FIT? Do I go back to school? Do I go to FIT? Do I go to Parsons? Do I go to RISD? Do I commute at night? Learn how to make patterns? But then I realized, and just executing technical design concepts, I realized that while I had gained that skill, I wouldn't gain the experience and network and knowledge that a lot of designers would come to me with. And that's when I decided to hire a contractor to help me bring it to life, execute on the concepts and designs that I already had pretty ironclad.
And I'm going to honor that you knew somebody had talents and skills beyond you that were probably complementary to your amazing skill set.
Thank you.
That was a great launch. So you have do we call them prototypes? What do you call them are they prototypes? I felt like that's a widget, not an undergarment.
No, prototype is actually, we use that in fashion. You can absolutely say prototype, especially when it's something like this, that's more innovative. So I made my prototype myself. I made that probably in the month after thinking of onewith. Like I sat on my living room floor, I made patterns out of wrapping paper, like the backside of wrapping paper. And I cut apart some swimwear, like just pieces that I liked the shape of. And I made patterns out of those. And I used that when I was going to designers and saying like, this is what I made. Basically help me make it a little better, but I know exactly what I want.
Right. Which sounds like a great partnership, right? Like in terms of they can bring the how to make it work. You can bring the this is how it should work.
Exactly.
And they can say, okay, let us make it work.
Exactly.
And thank you so much. I love continuing on the journey with you. So you had your prototype, you have your designer.
Yes.
What's going alongside that in terms of how one turns this into a business? I mean, it's not like, again, you have these beautiful suits now and you like, to your point, you don't just go hang them around and show them places. What's going alongside in terms of business planning?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely not a, if you build it, they will come sort of phenomenon. There's so much that went into it. But so alongside the technical development and execution and getting everything into bulk production, I was also working on like forming my entity on the back end, doing my website. I do pretty much 90% of my website is me, and it's so time consuming. Just setting up infrastructures and how I want to just run the business and kind of just making those plans and doing branding and planning campaign shoots and planning just how we're going to roll this out. This is one of those things where it's like, when I'm saying it out loud, it sounds like not much, but I can't convey enough to people. Like, I've always been a really hard worker. I cannot convey enough how launching a product and a brand is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I worked full time while in college. I graduated in 4 years. I commuted. It is the hardest thing. So I don't want to gloss over that. But I was building the company while also doing, the product. So, and developing the product turned out to be really, 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 really frustrating. So thank God I had something that I could kind of be working on in the background of that.
So did you have a playbook? Did you have a guide? Did you have the here's how to launch a business book? Who did you turn to or did you turn to people for support, right? You're very savvy, but it can be a lonely place, this entrepreneurial world. So what were some supports or infrastructure that helped you through this very, 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 big project, not even a project, your life, basically?
Absolutely. So the start of all of this, I don't know where I would be without this person and this entity. Going to Connecticut Small Business Development Center and meeting my business advisor there, Mary Kay Della Camera. She's literally, I say this all the time. I refer to her as like Angel Mary Kay because she genuinely feels divinely placed. She actually went to divinity school, which is just kind of ironic, but she is like my angel. And she came in and she was like, here's what you need to do. I had my little business plan that I wrote up. It was 30 pages. So it wasn't that little. She's probably like, what even is this? But she believed in me so much. And she helped me form an LLC and she helped me kind of get up and running. And here's what you have to do. And she encouraged me to apply for UConn has a Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, and they have a summer fellowship program every summer for UConn affiliates. So alums, students, and faculty. That's a startup accelerator to get their businesses off the ground. And that came with $15,000 in non-dilutive funding, as well as an 8-week startup accelerator intensive program. And I credit that to, it really changed me as a person. It changed my life and it helped me understand what onewith could be, aside from something that was just, my gift wrapping patterns on my living room floor. So that gave me license to have confidence in my idea and my trajectory as it stood.
Well, I would also ask, if you were in an incubator program, does that mean not only did you have guides, but you probably had peers, that were going alongside you that you could share your challenges, frustrations, and celebrations, right? Was that part of the package as well?
Absolutely. Being able to be exposed for the first time to fellow founders who were in my general age group. And, I was the only, actually, that's not true. There was another clothing startup in that, but I that program, and if anybody knows UConn, it's a very like STEM centric school. It's not a school for the arts, like as much as I don't know if they're going to try to play that angle in the coming years. It's not.
UConn, we have some branding conversation. We have some branding advice for you, UConn.
I know. Like they've got the puppeteering program, and I was an English major, but it doesn't get super, super creative at UConn, unfortunately. So, and that was reflected in the types of businesses that they attracted. So it was a lot of, again, like STEM, like pharma, engineering stuff that, I couldn't relate to. So it was really fun though to have people where it's like, okay, we're relating to each other in this journey, but I do not understand your product. And then getting people learning how to communicate to people who just won't ever understand, or who don't, have the, the initial like demographic checklist stuff to understand, So I learned how to explain my product to men and people just outside of my field. And that was really, really fun. So that was the best experience I could have possibly asked for. And I'm just so grateful for it. So having peers was huge.
And I want to get back. You've got the business, you've got literally the product being worked on, you're building your business alongside. One of those key pieces you mentioned, and I'd love to explore that with you, is branding. And, before we actually started recording, you were very specific about how, the onewith brand, is written out. Can you share with us your story? I mean, did you have that same moment of enlightenment and freezing in terms of that's what your brand is going to be called? How did that work?
Yeah, I actually did. It's funny you frame it like that, because that's exactly what happened. It was in the days following thinking of the concept. And I've always loved naming stuff like that. That's been my jam. I love it so much.
God bless you. It is a gift. I do not have it.
Really?
And when people do, I'm coming. It is a gift. God bless you.
I love it. No, it's funny because it's one of those things I don't know if I like take it for granted, but to me, it's so fun that I'm just like, oh, I'll do it. Anytime you need anything named, Nancy, please just like,
I'm coming back for you, Hayley, later on this year. Be careful what you wish for. Anyway.
I love it. But so that's what happened. I had like the same sort of moment. I was driving around in the days following thinking of the concept, and I was just thinking of names. I've always said the term for sure. I've always loved saying that. Yeah, for sure. So I was like, what if I spell that out? SHORE, for sure. That was a name that I was throwing around. But then I was like, no, I want it to encompass how this swim makes you feel. And so I literally said out loud, it's going to feel one with your body. I want it to feel one with my body. And in that moment, there was just no turning back. That was it. And when I initially was writing it out, I wrote the number one, WITH, but then I wrote out ONEWITH, and all one word, all lowercase. And I never went back from that. So I trademarked it, and that's the name. So it's onewith.
And again, for the branding geeks in the room, did the name come first? I know the concept for the product came, but somewhere in between those two is your vision of a brand, which you and I know goes well beyond a logo, well beyond a word. Was there a first or second, or was there kind of an inkling of it? Then when you got the name, I just love teasing out people's brand journey.
Absolutely. No, I do as well. So thank you for asking that question. I think the second I thought of the name, I pictured the logo, I pictured the colors, I knew I wanted it to be New England centric. Every swim brand focuses on the tropics and tropical destinations and SoCal and whatever. I wanted my brand to focus on where I'm from and where my summer memories were made and how I picture the beach and wearing swim. And that is here in New England and the tri-state area. And I've always loved it here. I've never wanted to live anywhere but here. And I wanted to really take the opportunity to glamorize it, showcase it, and spotlight this beautiful area that we have through the visuals, the names. And so the brand also formed around that concept as well. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, well, we're going to have lots of things for people to connect to so they can see and learn more about it. But let's present tense. You had the concept, you're developing it. You literally, get to launch, and I'm going to skip over the COVID because I don't want COVID to be part of your story, but tell us, and unless but I want to sort of visit present tense. You have launched, you have a business.
Correct.
Tell us where you are in your journey right now and kind of the things, I feel like you've shared with us some of your learning experiences, but sort of where you're moving, or sort of if somebody was looking toward wanting to be where you are? Like, okay, they had the idea, maybe they're in the middle. What would you say to them sort of, you're 2 years into launch, or you're 2 years launched? You're 1 year?
No, I'm
okay.
For 4 months launched. It took us 2.5 years to launch.
Yeah.
So
you're
people
4
would like
months.
to blame COVID. Yeah, I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly. Well, whatever. I'm trying to spend less time focusing on COVID, but okay.
Yeah.
So 4 months your business has launched.
Yes.
Where are your, sort of, where are the high points, and let's be real and talk about maybe a couple of the low points, or where you are right now or where you're looking.
For sure. Yeah. So high points, was just launching. That was huge because it felt sometimes like it was just never going to happen. Even though I knew it would, it was a really long journey. High points was launching. We went viral on TikTok last month, and it was insane. It was genuinely insane. Like, I can't talk revenue and stuff like that, but it was incredible. We actually oversold inventory.
Oh.
So I had to actually refund some people. We couldn't fulfill their orders. The order, things were just coming in too quickly, and we have such a small team.
Right.
And so we didn't have the infrastructure to keep up. So we ended up overselling, and now we're actually out of stock of our 2 pieces on our website. We're looking to restock, and I'm looking at my calendar right now in the next couple of weeks. But that was a super high, but also like a really big stress point, was just learning how to grow that quickly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that honesty. And what's next? What's next, Hayley? What's next in terms of, it sounds like growth, or it's building for growth now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are launching a all black colorway, which I'm really excited about. So, we focused on this like really poppy, like sherbet punch bowl inspired array of colors for this first collection. And now we're launching this all black collection. It was a huge demand for, a black colorway. So that's coming really, really soon. And it's super exciting because it's actually, the material used is upcycled fabric.
Nice.
So it's kind of, got a sustainability angle, and it's really exciting. So I can definitely divulge more, like, on our socials and stuff like that. Like, once all the messaging and the whole collection, like,
right.
We've got a shoot next week, once everything is put together. But that's what we're doing next, and just really looking to grow the brand and get it on as many people as possible, and just get it seen and heard, and show people that this solution is out there for feeling better in swimwear.
Oh, I love it. Okay. There's so many more questions I still want to discuss with you. So maybe an end of summer check-in with you and your sort of next line, and we'll see how growth is going. There's just too many good stories here to end on this note. So will you come back and chat with us later on this year?
Oh, of course. Just say when. Yeah, this was so cool. Thank you.
And Hayley, we wouldn't be sitting here we wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for Haven. That is literally where I met you. And
yes.
And it's been fun to follow your trajectory. And I know you've given so much to Haven in terms of webinars and Haven half times and lots of things. How has Haven impacted sort of where you are now? Because I know you've had a huge impact on Haven.
Thank you. That's really sweet. Haven's been awesome. I was introduced to Haven because of their Haven Hatch pitch competitions. And I was really, really into learning how to pitch at the time. And so I was just watching anything I could. So I watched Haven Hatch, and they offered like a free day pass as like an incentive for watching. And I took it, and I joined Haven, like I think the day that I did my first free day there. And it was just awesome because I needed to get out of the house. I really wanted to feel like I had coworkers again. I really missed having coworkers. So having a co-working space was really helpful for my mental health. And they were just so supportive of me from day one. Felicia and the whole team was really, really supportive of me and never made me feel anything less than that. So I am very grateful to them. My first fitting that I ever did was in the Haven, I think, pear tree room, which is an all like see-through room, which was so funny. And I was standing there. That's actually where I met Sue for the first time. And I was like standing there in a bikini, like in the middle of Haven, basically. So Haven's been a really big part of my journey. And I'm actually now a part of their launch accelerator cohort, which has been awesome too. So start to finish, they've just been really supportive of me. And I'm just really, really grateful for that support.
Oh, I love to hear that story, but I know you've been a big giver back to them, so I'm glad to hear that it's been so beneficial on both sides. Hayley, for people who want to reach out to you or learn more about OneWith, what's the best way to connect?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can go to onewithswim.com, onewithswim.com, at onewithswim on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. So that's where you can find us.
Perfect. We will put all those links in the show notes for sure.
Perfect.
Look, I just said for sure. Did you catch that?
Yes, I love it. I love that term so much. I still have it in my back pocket for something. So thanks for the affirmation.
Okay, you got it. Hayley, thanks so much for the time. This has been fantastic. I have loved, like I said, hearing about your journey and would love to continue the conversation, at another episode sometime in the future.
Absolutely. I am definitely down for that. Thank you, Nancy.
And that's another episode of the Haven Hubcast.
Thanks for listening to the Haven Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders and owners are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Haven is a co-working space and virtual community located in the heart of Fairfield County, Connecticut. Haven is a hub for business owners and professionals to connect, create, and get stuff done. Find out more about the Haven community online at haven.com. That's HAYVN.com. Haven Hubcast is produced by Sound Advice Strategies.